seriously, if you don't want me to start singing, you better sit down.
I can't tell if Jim's sitting or not. He's the same height. It's already started. I told him I was his main heckler. He said I should sit outside.
Really? Right there. Okay. Everyone, we're delighted to have an old friend and a wonderful storyteller here with us tonight. We were really happy for Jeff and Jolene to take off and go to Portugal, to have a wonderful life adventure, and leave us back here. But I have a tour company, and I'm putting together a tour where we can all go and see them at one time, okay? Is that right? Jolene goes. But no, I'm not going to take much time because I want Jeff to have his 30 minutes. And I just want to say, oh, I can't say that. No, I can't say that. Do you remember? No, I can't say that. Jeff was president of the Guild in 2017, and he really stepped in at a very crucial time. We had just lost our president, and Leon Overbay, which a lot of y'all know. But Jeff just came in and he listened, which is the most important thing a storyteller can do, isn't it? But he listened and then applied it to what was going to be the healthiest way for the Guild to go. And speaking of health, Jeff and many other people in the Guild had been working for years on the bedside storytelling program with Ballot Health. And Jeff was able to bring it all together so that the Guild could be part of that. I don't want to take any more of his time. I would love to stand up here and tell you things I know. And maybe Jolene doesn't.
Which she can imagine.
All I will say is that we had a wonderful time on the trip, and I will never forget my little granddaughter when she was 2, laying on the floor at your house between these 2 beautiful greyhounds, and just having the best time. But ladies and gentlemen, hot from Portugal, please welcome Jeff Stratton.
She just asked me if she should bring the mic down. That's a mic. We're recording on this. Well, no, I need to bring.
Well, here, let me see.
How about I just use this? This is. I was hoping to be serious. Come on now. Does that work? Okay. Okay. It's good for me. Wow. Thank you all. I last told up here 4.5 years ago when we were leaving, and never imagined I'd be back. But I am, and to prove it, Mr. Blah Blah is back. My wife got me these license plates a number of years ago, and I rode around in town with them. This is my actual Tennessee license plate. When we moved to Portugal, I hung it on the wall. They do not have personalized license plates there. No, they're issued. To try to explain the story behind this is tough. But I brought him back, because Blah Blah is here for half an hour. All righty? And there he sits. Very quickly, may I have... Whoops, Catherine, may you come up? Come on up. I was supposed to tell last Tuesday. Our plane got canceled at the last hour because of issues in the UK. We were held up for 2 days. And so I couldn't tell last Tuesday. And I thought, well, I'm dead for telling. And Catherine gave up tonight. This is supposed to be her slot right now. So, a little gift from the 2 of us. European chocolate and French soap. And there's an extra one for your husband. Oh! Oh, you get to fight over the flavor. There's different flavors. Thanks again.
Something to eat and something to smell good.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you kindly.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're welcome. There's a phrase in every language, happy wife, happy life, isn't there? Yeah. I'm going to go by notes because literally this is the first time I've told this story. And what I'm going to talk about is our adventure. How we went there and why we went there and what we've learned there and so on. We're here till Friday. We got in last Wednesday. And at that point, we're due to go back home. Now, I have talked to several of you. We've had a couple of meals. I've had conversations on the email. And I get people asking me all the time, when are you ready to come home? Okay, it's a fair question. You've had a great time. We've seen gorgeous pictures. We've heard about these adventures. But when are you ready to come home? And I have to stop and ask each of you to maybe in your own mind define what home is. For some people, oh, it's where I was born. Okay. Some it's where I grew up. Maybe. I grew up in 4 countries and 6 states because my dad moved around for the government. There was no home. Oh, it's where you went to school. About 11 schools, 3 high schools in 4 years in different countries. Move. So that's not home. What's home? Oh, maybe where your folks are from, where your people are from. Well, my mother's family were Ukrainians in Pennsylvania. My dad's family were Old English in Massachusetts. I've been to each place twice. There's nobody left. That's not home. Oh, it's where you lived the most of your life. Oh, okay, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. I lived in Tucson, Arizona, 25 years. I went there for my career, married, raised children, got divorced. That was a relief. It is now. Remarried, finally retired, and then left Tucson. Been gone 20-some years. So is that home? It could be. Or is home where I feel most comfortable? You know, you guys all have to ask yourselves that question. What is home? Home for us is Rua da Caravela, número 3, Bela de Lagoa, Val Óbidos, Portugal, which is my address. That's our address, street and town. That is home for us. Is that going to change? She says no. We're there for good. And we feel that way. By the way, I want to call out 2 people in the audience. We've had 4 sets of people in our 4.5 years. And you have to realize for COVID, there was no travel. So the first year we were there, and as recently as June, we've had Portia Sams come and visit us with her daughter in 2019, stay a week. And Jack Van Zandt was with us end of June, early July. So we've had a couple of people who have been there, has seen it. And if you want to talk about it later on, you sure can. But the fundamental question tonight is, why would an American couple in their late 60s, we're in our 70s now, why would you give up everything, go to a country where you know nobody, you don't speak the language, you have no connections, heritage, work, nothing? Why would you do that? We've had a lot of friends and family, when I started telling them we were doing this, they're doing this thing. And that's pretty universal, okay? I'm finding the Portuguese, they just say maluco. Maluco is a crazy man. Or maluca, if you're female, maluco. Why would we do that? We did not intend to do that. We literally were on vacation. And we started taking vacations in Europe about 2015 because Gary and Sandy Degner had taken a riverboat trip. Was it 2014? That's the best I can recall. Okay. And they came back and they were talking about this wonderful trip. Well, don't slip, Mr. Blabba. They were talking about this wonderful trip they took on the Rhine River? Several of the rivers, on a Viking trip. I had grown up in Europe. I came to the States at 11, and I missed it. I'd been gone 55, 60 years. And I thought, I'd like to go back and visit, and my wife had never been, so we started taking trips there. 2 a year when we could afford it. We were at the stage in life, some of you are there, hopefully most of you are there, where the time and the money are finally where they need to be. Okay? I mean, when we had the time, the money was not there. When we had the money, there was no time. It was always, raising kids, all the frustrations. finally we were there, and we listened to their tale, and we said, let's go do it. So we started, and 1 became 2, 2 became 3, 3 became 5, 6. And in 2017, we were making our schedule for 2018. And we're looking through all these brochures and folders, and we said, hey, what about Italy? So we picked Florence, Italy, in that area, northern Italy, for 1 trip. What else do we want to do? Let's go somewhere we've never been. And we started looking through these countries, and we came across Portugal. I know very little about it. It's small. They used to be pioneers and colonists, traders, discoverers, but that all ended long ago. What are they known for? Cork. This is a cork cap. It's made of cork. It's not leather. It's wood, bark. It's cork. Okay? They make cork. And there's some agriculture. Wine. Oh, yeah. An expensive bottle of wine where I go is around $4 bucks. I'm not joking. We have friends that won't buy it if it's above 1. They just will not. It's amazing. Green, white, red, white, and you had some green wine. Yes, you did. It was green wine. So we said, let's try this country. We knew nothing about it. So we did. Had a 2-week trip, had a great time, went from Lisboa, you guys say Lisbon, but I'm going to try to speak a little Portuguese, Lisboa to Porto, which is the next big city way up north. And we spent time going up and down with a tour group. Had a lovely time, came home, started planning for the Italy trip. And then one day we're sitting at the kitchen table, chatting about our trip coming up and the fun we had on the last one. And she says, I brought up the question. I think Jolene brought up the question, but it doesn't matter. One of us said to the other, hey, do you see us living there? Have you ever asked yourself that, or of your spouse over a table, hey, do you see us living in another country? Ooh, is this a joke? Are we teasing? Well, maybe not. And we started just talking and exploring it. And again, we weren't looking to go anywhere. We had a place here. We've lived here for 10 years in Jonesborough. But it intrigued us. And we said after a while, well, let's cancel the Italy trip and go back. Well, we couldn't. The money was already up. We had to go. So we reluctantly went up to Florence and Siena and Lucca and Pisa and ate and all that. And had a great time. And I even paid a street mime. Was it a mime? The guys that have the painted face, stand on the buckets and do all this. I paid him a couple of euros to stand aside and let me have his stand, and he did. She was mortified. And all these tourists are going up these main streets in Florence, and I'm doing this. And they started clustering, and they're putting money in the guy's bucket. And he's saying, I thought it was 5 minutes. He goes, no, stay, keep it going. And finally, she pulled me off the bucket, and off we went. So we had a great time. This is all true. I'm known to be an exaggerator and a tall tale, but this is all true. And if I lie, my wife will strike me dead right here. So it's true. So then we came home and we said, well, I don't know. What should we do? And we decided to research it. And that calls for another trip to Portugal. So we lined up another one. But this was research. And we looked at prices, housing, groceries, cars, towns, cities. We got a hold of our old tour guide, and for about 4 days, she agreed to kind of show us around. I didn't even know how to drive in the streets of Lisboa. I didn't know that the standard, and I drive a standard, when you take your foot off of it, the engine stops. Well, that scared the hell out of me. I'm at a light, and I'm putting in neutral, also, you touch the pedal and it kicks on again. It was very different. But off we go, and we spent 2 weeks house hunting and researching and running around. And we had realtors lined up in different cities ahead of time. And we came close to buying several times and said no. And then at the very end, our former tour guide asked us, she said, have you looked in my little area called Peniche, which used to be a fishing village, now it's a big surfer city. It's full of surfer dudes and dudettes everywhere. They come from all over the world. No, we hadn't really looked there. So we did. And long story short, a couple days later, we found ourselves sitting at a desk at an ERA, they have ERA, realty office, signing a contract for a house and transferring funds over for the deposit, they call it, earnest money. And the thought went through my head, what are we doing? What are we doing? This is a commitment. But we did. And we felt excited, but nervous. Well, we came home, and this was Thanksgiving or so, and we needed to apply to the Portuguese embassy. The visa process is very extreme. We have to have FBI checks done on us. Our driver's licenses going back for years, our finances, medical insurance, our medical records, our dogs, on and on and on and on. It takes a long time, and we're going into Christmas season. At the same time, we need to divest ourselves of everything. Okay. We got to sell a house during winter. Christmas season, quickly. Oh, Lord, how are we going to do this? Well, we had to patch a few things up. I found it's real hard to get a tradesman out during that time of year. I needed some patching and painting. I went through six guys who promised me and said they'd be there, gave me prices, and never showed up. Again and again and again. Also, our fingerprint checks with the FBI were held up for 5 weeks because the government was having political issues and they shut down. But they didn't know it was going to be 5 weeks. It was just day to day to day. It was that drip. And they said, the FBI told us, you're considered non-essential operations. We only do essential. Your fingerprints don't mean much as far as we're concerned. And we waited and we watched the clock ticking. In the meantime, we get the house fixed, we put it on the market. How are you going to sell a house in January? 4 days. Sold.
Thank you.
There, I was just going to this lady right here, Janine. And she came. Haven't seen you since. And she was down in Florida. Her sister showed up, actually, with a realtor, held her phone up. I've never seen this done. By the way, those of you remember my flip phone? I got a roll one, guys. Oh! That's my wife on it. And her sister was walking through the house going video, click and send it to her. And in minutes, she answered, buy it, sign the papers. That night, about 8 o'clock, the realtor showed up. We signed the papers. And we looked at each other and said, what have we done? This was too fast. Nothing else had been done. So now we have to have yard sales. 2 of them. Have to sell the cars. Have to do this. Have to put the dogs through a special EU, European Union process. It's very crazy. But we got it done. And then the last part was to go down in the basement. Those of you who've moved, when you have to start packing and deciding, what do we keep? What do we sell? What do we give away? What do we trash? Normally, if you're just moving across states, and I have, it's not so hard. We couldn't. We had to put it all in pallets and ship it across the ocean and through Rotterdam and back through. Oh, it was very interesting. As a result, where are they? There they are. Okay. Rick and Karen Newell came by, and they helped us pack and pack and pack. And we were in the basements for days. And you know how you go down there and you have rows and rows, 60-some years of storage, that you got to whittle down to 3 pallets the size of a large refrigerator. 40-some inches by 40-some by 6 feet. It's the size of a refrigerator box. Everything we owned. And some luggage. That's it. Ooh, that was tough. You sit down in that basement with that cup of tea early in the morning, the best of intentions. You know what happens? You start pulling out those folders. What do we keep? Oh my God, I've been looking for this for 10 years. Oh, look, here's your parents and your uncle when they were young. Oh, the nostalgia. Oh, here's the boys' baby clothes. They're 50 years old now. And they don't want them, and their sons don't want them. Why are we keeping them? We didn't know, okay? Oh, look, there's where you and I, we had dark hair and no lines. Oh, God, we were good looking then. And you do that box after box, and suddenly the sun goes down, you flip the lights, and you realize you've only gone through 2 boxes. And there's the entire basement. It's a large basement, yes? Completely lined. The storage shelves are still there?
Yes.
Okay, the big metal ones? I got them from Kmart when they closed down. I went over to Johnson City.
There's a bathroom down there now.
Oh, you've really improved the place. Okay. Well, we had to dig through all this, and we had to do it quickly, and we did. And we were done. We had to move out of the house. Janine wanted in, and suddenly we still have weeks to go. So Millie Palacey from our church filled in and said, you can stay at my cottage. Well, we didn't know how long. We were waiting for so many things to line up. It all had to line up. And we were there, 5 weeks, Millie? About that? with our dogs in this little cottage. At that point, we were down to one car. We sold it quickly to a guy, and we borrowed a car, and we were living like gypsies in someone else's house, trying to figure out what's going on. The Portuguese authorities had demands of us we didn't understand. At one point, they asked us, "What is your marital regimen?" Regime. I said, "What is that?" And we had to send them marriage licenses, all kinds of stuff, to their embassy in one package. It all has to be there. So you got to wait till everything's done. But they said, "We need to know your marital regime." I sent back, "What does that mean?" And they said, "Well, it's your regime." I got on internet and what does that mean to them? It's an English word, but they use it differently. And I got a hold of one of my sisters who travels a lot, and she said, "I don't know, but I think they're asking your frequency of sex." She did. That's what she thought. I don't mind answering. I really don't. But that's not what they wanted. Anyway, these are the kind of things we spent days hassling with questions that didn't make sense. It was driving us nutty. Finally, it was done. Well, now we got to ship everything over, and we need a flight without any connections, a straight flight, because we have dogs, 2 greyhounds in kennels that are going to be in for hours. And we don't want them lost in the wrong city and abused and starved and all that. The only flight, the closest flight, was straight from Newark, New Jersey to Lisboa. So how do you get up there? We don't have cars, and we're running out of time. Well, Karen and Rick filled in. They had a van. He's got a sister in the D.C. area. We worked out a deal, and it was the 2 of them, the 2 of us, 2 75-pound dogs, 9 pieces of luggage, and 2 kennels. And off we went in search of magic mushrooms, I suppose. I don't know. It's California. And off we go. So anyway, we finally get in there, and we get out, we get in the airport, we jump through all the hoops, and we get into the rental car. We have to drive and sign papers on the house we're buying today. And you turn the key on the car, we ask for GPS, and the car starts to talk to us in Italian. I don't speak Italian. Okay, the last driver was Italian. So we hit a couple of buttons, we hit settings, and they show the flags of different nations. And you touch one, there's your language. They don't show American flags, they show British, because that's the English they tend to use. Okay, great, we hit British. And off we go. And the instructions we got were things like, "I say, in the next 500 meters, kindly exit the motorway and moderate your velocity." I understand it, but, and we would. And I'd say, "What did he say?" She said, "Did he say autoway or the motorway?" It doesn't matter, we're getting off the exit. Until we turned the key off. And we had to stop and start many, many times. We're getting food, we have to sign papers. Every time we turned the key on, the stupid thing reloaded to Italian for a month. We had the car a month. 6, 7 times a day. You turn the key, Italian. No, British. Kindly do this, kindly do this. Okay, fine. I started taking Italian lessons from the GPS lady. Why not? And they have roundabouts, they call them rotundas. And they say things like, "A secondi rotondi, girare a destra, va bene." And I go, "Okay." At the second rotunda, make a right and keep going. I actually learned some Italian through the GPS lady. It was a month of that. We finally sold the car, or turned it in, bought our own. We go to buy our cars, and we spent a couple of days at a VW dealer. We were brought there by a Portuguese friend. The dealer spoke no English. It was a Saturday after 2 days of negotiating, driving, all the stuff you do. We're filling out papers, and all of a sudden he goes, almoço. What's he saying? Almoço. We didn't speak a word, maybe a word. Almoço. And he starts turning off lights. And he's closing the glass doors to the showroom. It's like 12:31 in the afternoon on a Saturday. He goes, "Almoço." He goes, "Almoço." It's lunchtime. Everything stops for lunch. Even a $25,000 sale on cars with the people at the desk signing the papers stops. We go for almoço. Come back in 2 hours. And if you like fish, there's a good place down. He was very friendly. And if you like this, there's a place down here. So we went. We came back and we went, this is crazy. How are we supposed to adjust? The point is you have to adjust. You have to adapt if you're going to make it there. The easiest way to adapt is to try to learn the language. So we take classes twice a week. We have for several years. We've noticed we're in there with all kinds of nationalities, two different classes. And we've noticed that the Americans last about 3 or 4 weeks, if that, and then they're gone. They don't really put the effort. It's sad for us because our feeling is, I live in this country, I do my best to learn their customs. I do my best. I'll never be fluent, but I try. We try our best. And a lot of Portuguese under 40, 45 speak English, and if not, they speak French. We go to our town hall, and I have to get a license for the dog. The Portuguese lady doesn't speak English. I, at the time, didn't speak Portuguese, but we both spoke French. So we're negotiating for a dog license in Portugal between an American and a Portuguese lady in French. It worked. And this is, you do this dance, you adapt. Until we went to the famous pizza place. We went to this pizza place on the beach, absolutely gorgeous. Pizzeria de Praia, the beach is right there in glass windows. Jack, did we go there?
No.
We didn't go there. No. I can't remember, it's been a while. Okay, we ran out of time. 3 days. So we're there and I'm trying my new Portuguese, been there a couple of months, and I'm learning to count. Dois, dois, três. So we agree on a pizza and I tell the guy I want a pizza por dois. He said, okay, what kind, we order our drinks. And we're talking. About 20 minutes later, we're sitting at these little coffee tables that are about the size of 2 of these, enough for 2 people. They slide a second table over. Okay, what's that about? And then suddenly 2 men come out with a pizza pan like this. One on one side and one on the other. And they're going out like this. And it's like a manhole cover. It's true. And they plop it on their 2 desks and they, va bene, eat. And I'm going, oh, no. This is not for us. And there's a group of about 10 or 12 people along the wall. I said, I think you got the wrong party. It's over there. He says, number 47, table 47, you ordered these ingredients. No, sir, this is your pizza. I said, no. I asked for pizza por dois. He said, sir, you asked pizza por dos. Dos is 12. As in dozen, D-O-Z-E, dos. Dois, dos. But if it's female, it's duas. If it's sweet, it's dos. Dois. Oh my God. And there we look at this thing, we cut slices, and they were from like my elbow to my elbow, like this. And you have them on your arm, and you're trying to hold them and feed them in. It was wonderful. 1 slice is more than enough. So now we pack it up, and they don't say carry out, they say take away. It's a British thing, take away. Moderate your velocity and take away. Okay. So we do, and as I tell my Portuguese friends, and I'm going to say it in their language, por 3 dias depois, a cada manhã às 7 horas eu comi pizza. E que precisamos beber com pizza? Cerveja. Anybody get the gist of that? Every day for 3 or 4 days, I ate pizza for breakfast at 7 in the morning. And what must you drink with pizza? Cerveja, beer. I finished the pizza off for breakfast. And so when I order one now that way, she knows that I'm heading that direction with it. Okay. Another big mistake in learning languages, and you got to make mistakes because it's falling off the bicycle that teaches you to eventually ride the bicycle, correct? You got to make mistakes. We had some gutters put on the house, rain gutters. We have a 2-story house. And the guy came to the neighborhood, gave great prices. A lot of people had them put on. About 3 days afterwards, I'm up in the veranda. These are verandas, they're different. And I'm watering the beautiful geraniums. And a Portuguese lady named Maria, who sits several houses down the street, came down the sidewalk. COVID had started, everybody's wearing masks, okay? So I'm on a veranda, she's on the street, she's down that way, we have masks. And my Portuguese is not so good. And she's asking me something from the street. And what I got was, I need the name and the number of the caleras, the guy that installed the caleras. Oh, they call those caleras. I knew that already, okay? No problem, 5 minutos. Give me 5 minutes, I go down and I write a name and number, give it to her. She thanks me profusely and goes. About 3 days later, Maria shows up, and Maria's about like this, but you don't mess with Maria, okay? And Maria's got this very contorted look on her face. Normally she's very friendly, and she says, her English is like 2 words. She says, "You come." "You come." "What's going on, Maria?" "Come." And she marches me down the sidewalk to this house. "Go." I go inside. "What?" "Cocina, cocina," the kitchen. She opens a cupboard, and she goes, "Caldera, I want the caldera." It's a water heater. Galleras are gutters, calderas are water heaters. And they're small, they're about the size of this whole stool. They sit in a cupboard in your kitchen. They do that instant heat. It's not the tanks you guys have. I haven't seen one in years. And they're very, very efficient. They're incredibly efficient. And she goes, "Preciso un canalizador por calderas. I need a plumber to fix the water heater. And you sent me the gutter guy." And the word for I'm sorry or excuse me is disculpe. And they say it fast. Disculpe me becomes sculp. Sculp, 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 sculp. You do bump into people, sculp, all the time. And I said, disculpe. And she goes, "Nah." Well, we have become friends again. But since then, I found out that there's calderas, which is water heater. Calderas, the gutter. Calderas, what you're sitting on. And cadela, my female dog. And if you don't catch it just right, you're completely off message. You are. And it's one thing if they're saying it, but when I say it, it makes it worse. It makes it worse. Thank God some of them do speak decent English, and we work that out. But these are the mistakes you make. I go to my Portuguese teacher, and I say to her, "How could they get it wrong? I said this," and she says to me, "Jeff, those words don't even sound similar. What's your problem?" "Well, yeah, you're Portuguese. I'm American. I have different ears. I'm sorry, but I didn't catch that. We started a neighborhood association. We needed one. The town was ignoring us. The area had been kind of left high and dry for 5 years. We weren't getting services, and we paid taxes. We started pushing, and people, it's typical. "Oh, yeah, we need to do it." And they give you a hit in the shoulder and say, "Go for it, kid." "Yeah, it's a great thing you're doing. Make it happen." And it took 2 years. 2 years to get speed bumps on our street because it goes to the beach about a mile away, and the weekends and holidays are insane with high speed and vans and stuff bouncing around, ready to kill kids, pets, bicycles, whatever. I got 2 speed bumps installed, and there's a whole story there I'm not going to get into. But we wrote a letter of thanks. They like that. You have to stroke government officials no matter where you are. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We hope this reduces problems in the neighborhood. And oh, by the way, we'd like to have a meeting about some other issues that we have. And I went door to door, and I got about 25 signatures, which is nice. So I wrote it all up, and I got on Google, and I did my best translations into Portuguese and wrote it up, and I had a draft, and I was getting ready to send it, and I went, let me take it to my Portuguese teacher Monday night. And I did, and she looked at it, and she goes, "What do you want me to do with this?" And I said, "Well, Paula, can you edit it?" And she goes, "I don't think there's a red pen with enough ink." And go ahead. And she did. And she changed verbs and spellings and all that. And then she says, "Did you really mean to say, thank you for helping resolve the problems with tráfego?" Tráfego. The dictionary said traffic, tráfego. And I said, "Yes." And she goes, No. That's Brazilian Portuguese. We speak European Portuguese. "Oh, that's like a Welshman speaking to somebody from Tennessee or Kentucky." "Yes, it's English." Right. And she said, "You just thank them for solving the contraband trafficking problem in the neighborhood." Because in Brazilian it means traffic. In our language it means trafficking, illegal trafficking. Okay, I'm glad you caught that. And she goes, "The word for speed bumps is lombas." Lombas. I said, "Yeah." She said, "You put lombos, 1 letter off." Lombas is a speed bump. Lombos is a pork loin. 1 letter. You thank them for installing 2 pork loins on the street. This is how we learn. Oh my Lord, I can't begin to tell you 4.5 years worth, but I want to say before I wind down, the test of any country, and we did not expect this, was when COVID hit. We went into instant lockdown. It's a small country. By the way, it's 3/4 the size of Tennessee. cut about 2 hours off of Tennessee, off the drive, flip it this way. 10 million people. It's small, but it's one system, one federal system. You don't have states fighting each other. We do, we don't, we tax, we execute, we don't. You can drive, you can't, you can drink, no. One system. And when Antonio Costa, the prime minister, says this is what we're doing as of Friday, the country does it. They follow through. They have a great sense of community. 3 rules. 3 rules. Máscaras, gel, social distancing. Now we do it by 6 foot, they do it by 2 meters, which is about 7 feet. Okay, a little difference, but people paid attention. By the way, measurements. Forget your pounds, they're now kilos. Different number, 2.2 to 1. Forget your miles, they're kilometers, 8 to 5. Forget your meters and feet. 1 meter is 40 inches, so 20 centimeters is 8. Have a good time with that. Okay? The money, euros to dollars. Right now it's $1.08 is a euro. Changes every few minutes, all the time. And it goes on and on and on. You have to understand how to work this. And once you're there long enough, you forget the translating. We would tell people, oh, we live 10 miles from the castle. Now we say 15 kilometers, because that's really what it is. They measure in kilometers. We don't say the 10 miles. No one hears, no one cares. The thing that doesn't change, the measure doesn't change, is time. They still say minute, 60 to the hour, 24 to the day. For some reason, time doesn't change, but all other measures do, the metric to the standard. But anyway, they handled COVID in a way that when you went to stores, you were not allowed in until the security guard said you could. And he had a counter. As 2 came out, 2 could go in. And you had to mask up. You had to be masked up out in the street. You had to put your gel, you had to go in. We never saw, in almost 2 years, we never saw arguments. We never saw somebody at the door screaming that they have the right not to, that somehow they're being persecuted. If they did, the peer pressure is such that, oh, cluck, 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 Maria would have come out. And no. And people didn't. They got in line, and they even had marks. I'm sure a lot of places did here. And you stood and you visited 2 meters away with somebody. So how's your young'uns doing? And you chatted with them. That's the way you did it. They also were big on the vaccination. They have a national health care. So as long as you live there, you can get health care to a certain level. And then you can buy more. So we went in for the shots, and they were done by age. They started with the 80 pluses. And they text you, hi, we're sending you an appointment. Be at this place. The place they sent us to is called Pavilhão das Matas. It means pavilion of death. If you speak Spanish, matar is the verb to kill. Matar, okay? But in Portuguese, matas means woods. The pavilion of the woods, the forest. Oh my, that threw me, because I'm going to line up with 400 people at the pavilion of death to get a shot, And we went often. We went every time they wanted. And especially if you tried to travel, you had to have that, what's that thing, QR code? It's the block thing, that little block. You had to have that on your phone with your vaccination, and you had to show it, and they would code it. They would look at it, code it, and they said, show us an ID to match with who you were. You want to buy shoes? You got to show that. And as a result, they tried to keep it down as best they could. The last thing they did is they would set up checkpoints. The National Guard, it's a National Guard, but they're police and military, they would put out an order, you can't leave the county on this weekend. Too much travel, too many families. They're very family oriented. And it's nothing for 4 or 5 generations to get together. And they're all smoking, from grandpa down to the 8-year-old. They're all doing wine. They just do. And they had to stop that because they were afraid of cross-infection. So you couldn't leave your county. And they would announce, you can go to the grocery stores, medical, and if there's anything else, you better have some kind of letter. And they call it the GNR, the National Republican Guard. The name alone is a little scary. They would line up at checkpoints. And the best you can hope for is you get turned around. If you give them stuff, just don't. These guys literally fight in wars for NATO, and then they come back and patrol our streets. They do not put up with, you just don't mess with the GNR. It doesn't matter if he's 22 years old, or she, with the beret and the gun and all, you just smile. Sorry, turn around. We never pushed the button. We never went that far. We didn't see a reason to. Okay, running through time here. There's so much to tell you. The potted plant. I went to buy my wife a potted plant. I'm speaking Portuguese the best I can. The lady I'm talking to speaks no English. She's much older. And we get to the point that I'm buying it. And she says to me, she says, You're not Portuguese, are you? Blue eyes, stuttering Portuguese. No, I never claimed to be. Where are you from? And I said, adivinas, guess. I'd like to do that, guess. And she does this and she goes, well, your skin is Spanish. What? But your face is German. Have you ever been described like that by anybody in any such terms? And I said, what? And she goes, yeah. She said, are you Spanish or are you German? Which is it? And I said, neither. And she backed up and she said, well, which is it? And I said, Americano. And she said, no possible, not possible. That's a phrase you hear all the time. It's not possible. The government officials, they don't tell you why, they just say it's not happening. Go away. Not possible. And then you hire a legal intern to come in and yell at them for 20 minutes and bang on the desk, and they put the stamp on the paper and they go, have a nice day. And that's how the system works. It's not illegal, you just have to know where to jump through it and where to climb through it. And she looks at me and she goes, not possible, you're not American. I said, I am. And she said, no, you're not fat and you speak 2 languages. You can't possibly be an American. This is her take. Then she immediately said, oh, desculpe, so sorry. I apologize. And she realized that it might be offensive. I didn't see it as offensive. I came home and told my wife, I had the most interesting afternoon buying you a potted plant. But again, you learn. You just learn as you go. Couple of questions we get from people. Always. I don't care what nationality they're from. We have 15 nations within 2 blocks. We got Lithuanians, Russians, Ukrainians, Kiwis, French, Germans. The Dutch are pouring in. I think 5 Dutch families in the last 6 months. They're pouring in. They're coming in from all over the world and settling in for a lot of reasons. They get to know you a little bit and they go, Jeffrey. By the way, it's a British thing. I go by Jeff. Jeffrey, I say. They all do Jeffrey. Could you explain the American political system to us? Sometimes twice a day. And I have researched the American political system. I'm actually a history, geography, civics teacher from years ago. I have a little background in it. And I say, well, you got to understand. And we go on for hours, and they do not understand. It makes no sense. The second question, what's with the gun obsession and the violence in your country? They said, my barber, who doesn't speak a word of English, I go in there, and he goes, 300 matan in Michigan. He's watching the news. He's telling me about massacres in the U.S. while I'm getting my haircut, because he's on top of it. And they cannot understand this obsession with guns. I've been here a few days. I'm taking pictures of windows of banks that say you can't come in here carrying your gun, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They will flip out. They will not understand it. And I try to explain to them, I'm the guy who's trying to explain my society to you as I'm trying to adapt to your society. It's really interesting. And you just they've never given us grief over it, but they're so curious. They want to know. Anyway, winding down, what do we miss? We've been asked by people in the last few days, well, what do you miss about the States? And we've been asked by Europeans. Why would you come here from America? The streets are paved in gold. You know, some of them still think that. Well, what we miss are friends. Yeah. Of course, the list is getting smaller. We've lost some in different places we've lived in. Very recently as, who was it? Roland Oligny 2 weeks ago from our church. The other thing we miss is some foods. But we've learned to work around that, and it's not a big deal. Other than that, I don't think we miss much. We really don't. And we have talked at length about this. We do just fine. The other thing is, what have you learned? We've learned to be flexible. We've learned to expand our boundaries. We've learned to fall off the bike and get up. It's not hard. But we've learned to get past fear. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people will tell us, God, I wish I could do what you're doing. But I can't. Well, that's your choice. It's okay. But whatever it is you want to do, whatever wall or obstacles in front of you, you can get around it if you try. I look at an obstacle and I say, well, most of the time I can't go over it. There's just no way. Okay? Can I get through it? Maybe not. Can I get around it? Can I get under it? How about if I just go pick a different one? Whatever, and you work around it, and you work with it. And we've learned to become more accepting and much more adaptable. When someone says we're closed for lunch for 2 hours, or your immigration card that you paid for won't be in the mail for 2 months, that's the card I need for my ID when I drive around. You just accept it. It'll get there. eventually. Yes.
Portuguese traffic jam.
Oh, a Portuguese traffic jam. We have them a lot. First of all, the Portuguese have no law against tailgating. There isn't. You're driving at 120 kilometers, which is 75, okay, on an interstate, beautiful, 3 lanes, median, 3 lanes, very modern, and they come up right behind you, and you see black car, then you see Audi emblem, and then you see mustache and teeth, okay? And he's on his cell phone, which is illegal, and he's yelling. And I'm telling my wife, we're going to get rear-ended. Why doesn't he take one of the open lanes? And when they do, then they cut you off to let you know what they thought of you. It's absolutely crazy. And we have a Portuguese lawyer because, by the way, American wills have no bearing in another country. And we have a house there. We have bank accounts, everything. So we have a Portuguese lawyer. And he said, we are the nicest people until we get behind the wheel. He said, then we're screaming Adam Henry's, AH's. You take it from there, okay? But a Portuguese traffic jam is a sheep herder. Where we live, there's groves and eucalyptus and beach and all that. And you come around a curve, hundreds of sheep, and a guy wearing a cap like this with something over his shoulder with his bedroll and a stick, whistling to his dog that's running him, and everybody stops. What a lot of people, the Portuguese just, they hit the horn there. Other people jump out. Oh, can I pose with the sheep? Oh, this is wonderful. This is so natural. We don't see this in Chicago, you know. And it's called Portuguese traffic jam. And they're in cities. They come in, they eat in the medians, and then they just wander out. And they're very good. I've never seen one get hit or run over. So it's a different world. We learn, again, not to be so fearful. People ask us, would you do anything different? Yes. We would have moved 10 years earlier. We're dead serious. But we didn't know. It was just a fluke where, I don't know where you want to go. We got Florence calling, so we picked Portugal. We're glad we did. It's home for us. We expect to finish our years there. We really do. Those of you who have come and visited us, you've seen the area, and you know how we're attached to it. I will open an invitation as I'm winding down. Any of you would like to come and visit, get a hold of us through Facebook, through the Guild, whatever it takes, okay? And at that point, Até logo, boa noite, have a great night, and thank you all for coming, really. Thanks for letting me go over.
I loved it. It was great. You said we went over a little.
I know. We went over a little, you get a refunds at the front desk.
I tell you what, I'll take the heat since I'm the MC for going over, but to me, it was worth it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you for everything. It was great.
Thank you.